Last time on Hakai, about 3 months ago now, the leader of the Celestial Mages known as Odasu, although he possesses the body of another warrior by the name of Anzen, who we met in the first chapter of this series, brought out the inner, uncontrollable Hakai form of Goku during their intense battle. What will happen now that our greatest hero finds himself completely unhinged against a fighter that even the deities claim he has no chance against? This is part 22 of Dragon Ball Hakai and was created by Hakai. Support him and catch up fully using the links below. After having his right arm broken and being hurled down onto a planet, and of course, being forced to let his Hakai form take over in order to save it, Goku again questions his foe. You wanted to see me, right? Well, here I am! Explaining a little of how this state works, Odasu reasons that Goku finally exhausted the god power that he could use. This has ultimately led him not to be able to contain this form any longer. Essentially, the Hakai state is another life form completely different from its host. Gods of destruction have to learn how to control their power properly and not overexert themselves. If they do, they risk the Hakai energy taking control of their body and their will. And since a new name would be nice, survey says... I don't know. Maybe we'll just call him Fred to keep things from getting too confusing later on. Although there were about a dozen suggestions that I really liked. All this means to the mage leader is that now he knows that his foe won't hold back anymore, which also means he'll finally get to see the real extension of his power. Before the Hakai-possessed Goku offers a taste of his new personality. He sports a smug grin as he warns that he better not think that battling him will be like battling that other idiot. Soon, he will realize the chasm between his power and the power of the true energy of destruction, causing Odasu to charge while demanding he show him. Although his elemental ability causes an entire city to be blown over, the Hakai-shin doesn't move. This might be impressive strength, but what now? Given his other arm is broken, his only available hand is already being used. But who said he only had one arm available? After the Hakai-possessed Goku either healed his own arm or snapped it back into place only being dislocated, Champa of all people appears to save a few individuals from a messy demise. We haven't heard a peep out of him since Goku took over his role as Destroyer, but he recognizes the situation all too well. It seems that Son Goku has been overwhelmed by his destruction energy. His presence here is very dangerous. He needs to do something. Who unexpectedly shoots him a cold glance. It's actually pretty scary, causing Champa to think to himself, do something? Who does he think he's fooling? He's no match for him, nor his opponent. He intended to come here to offer some help, but the state that he's in now, there's no discrimination between ally and foe, solidifying the fact that while Goku is in this form, he's not really Goku anymore. The Brother of Beers doubles down on this and even believes that right now, it's difficult to tell who is the greater threat to his Earth, Goku or the one he's facing. After getting launched out of the city, the mage hisses to himself that his strength is greater than he expected. Looking at his hands, something appears to be wrong. Before his opponent comes searing towards him, he cockily inquires what's the matter. Don't tell him he's in pain. Extending his arm towards him. What has Goku done? He's locked him into place only using the power of his mind? On the other side of the planet, I'm no geogainologist. My best guess is if you poke a hole through the planet to the other side, it's probably dangerous to the planet. Also, the Hakai narrows his eyes, taking delight in the proclamation of destroying his adversary. As not Goku takes the edge, Odesu can't help but make generic comments, stating that both his physical attributes and destructive power have both increased considerably. It's like now he's a true destruction beast. However, he claims that's exactly what he is, and the very same destruction beast who's going to vanquish Odesu from existence. A statement the mage isn't fazed by. In fact, he pities his ignorance, asking what he means. We then finally get a little backstory on this body-snatching mystery. The villain utters, "You know, this is not all the power of this body that hosts me." He details that the owner of this body, AnzGiancarlo, has a transformation. When it's active, he can considerably increase his power. We have to ask if this also means the other celestial mages have stolen bodies too. But hosts, AnzGiancarlo, the being Goku is now, doesn't understand what he's rambling about. So if he has any more power, just use it already instead of babbling. And as he wishes. Revealing a Saiyan-like tail, Odesu shouts for the Destruction Beast to come forth. Now they could really go all out. It doesn't take long for the Hakai life form to realize that this transformation seems an awful lot like a Saiyan transformation. That's because it is, even though it's a little different from the one that the Saiyans use in this realm. Inquiring what he means by that. The mage again states that he isn't here to answer all these questions. All he wants is for the Destruction Beast to show his full power. Not one to disappoint. If that's the case, then he can. Not even finishing what he is about to say, this new transformation boasts amazing strength and speed. Curious what his foe thinks of this. This is exactly what he likes to see. Meanwhile, the Battle of Gods goes on, causing calamities throughout the earth. Huh? Lucky for them, the newest Kaioshin actually cares about life. When she spots Champa also trying to do some good, she zips over to him and actually recognizes him. He's Champa, the previous god of destruction, right? She saw him in a book and also found out about him coming to this earth. And finally returning to the same pompous cat we know, he grumbles that by judging by her clothes, she must be the new Kaioshin. What does she want? Which, isn't it obvious? She wants him to do something to stop their battle. Please! However, he is not the god of destruction of this universe anymore. It isn't his stuff to deal with. Truth be told, even if he were, he still wouldn't be able to do anything to stop any of that. But, what? Even if he were still a god, he wouldn't be able to do anything about this? Is this situation really that bad? The reality that they're faced with is that the level of power that they're fighting at right now is completely ahead of Champa's own. And not only that, the way they fight It's almost impossible to stop something like that. And what does he mean by that? He quips to know if she's paying any attention to the way they're fighting. The guy Son Goku is facing right now always had a very sober spirit, apparently much more rational and stable. But now, he's different. It seems like his spirit has become much more combative, as if he absorbed the battle's chaos. And what Champa feels is the more that he puts himself through this combat, the more progress he makes in this battle. But it's not like he loses all rationality. In truth, he continues to fight in a pretty smart way. Currently, he seems to take delight in all the chaos. Son Goku, on the other hand, has been dominated by his energy of destruction, the nature of which the cat knows very well. The more he is consumed by this energy, the more he will lose all sense of stability and will become an agent of destruction that can't distinguish between anything. Just like it seems to be the case of his opponent's transformation. Son Goku's power will grow the more he gives himself to the chaos and violence of battle. But on the other hand, he'll become more and more unstable and will grow distant from his humanity. He will become a destruction machine that won't stop until he turns everything to dust. The guy has to question that from what he's saying. They will fight until there's nothing left in the universe to destroy. Exactly the case. If this goes on, Universe 6 will be doomed. The Hakai inquires what his adversary thinks. Now there's no more water for Arasu to use against him, who only snarls that apparently he doesn't care what happens to this planet. You know, the same that mirrors the one that Son Goku was raised on. He now fights shamelessly, just as he intended. But he hasn't seen anything yet. As the Goku we know appears to try to retake control. It may only be short-lived, but it does convince the Destruction Beast to flee the Earth. Curious about this, the Supreme Kai wonders why they're leaving. Though Champa is already privy to what's going on. Son Goku was raised on planet Earth of Universe 7 if he's not mistaken. Maybe his conscience still hasn't been completely taken over by the destruction energy, and his despair of the Earth being so shaken pressed the force controlling him to seek a new battleground to lessen the discomfort. So this means there's still hope, right? Mr. Goku isn't completely out of control yet. The former destroyer rolls his eyes at Lea's naivety. She really hasn't understood anything yet. Huh. And they always said he was the idiot among the gods. Instead of taking offense, the, 2-week-old Kai asks what he means. He tells her to think. If being on Earth is what strengthened a little bit of Son Goku's conscience and made that thing become hesitant. Now that he's distanced himself from here, there will be no more emotional links to keep the sparkles of his true nature alive. And this means, that's right. From now on, the destruction energy will grow ever stronger in the control of his mind and won't have anything to restrain it. Also meaning that the destruction of this universe grows ever closer. In deep space, Arasu knows full well what this relocation's about. In the end, Fred, I forgot, wanted to leave so he could distance himself from planet Earth. Despite his words, it looks like that he's not as indifferent as he implies. Now that he thinks about it, his foe could have destroyed the entire Earth a few times, but it seems he restrained himself. He's beginning to think that Son Goku's conscience hasn't been completely taken over. That's a shame. It seems to Arasu that he himself still hasn't managed to extract his maximum potential. Unfortunately, this is a moot point. The villain has already spent a lot of time on this fight. From now on, he'll be fighting to end this. Sporting a wide grin, the Destruction Beast chuckles that his foe must be starting to run out of options. Unsure, albeit alarmed what he means by this. The Beast questions if he thinks he hasn't noticed, after Son Goku blew up Planet Chameleon. Odyssey has been forced to stop absorbing the natural elements and begin creating them all. He noticed that by creating the actual elements, he spends almost double the energy when compared to just manipulating what already exists in nature. Of course, he is a powerful monster and has a lot of energy to spare. He also noticed that he has some limitations because of the vessel he uses. He only figured this out because that is something the two of them have in common. Shortly, Odyssey won't have a lot of energy left. The fact that the Destruction Beast left Earth and came back to space, where there aren't many natural elements for him to use, will force the mage to spend a greater deal of energy. That's why he needs to end their fight quickly. Quite the perception. Alas, the Fiend points out that it isn't like the Destroyer has much energy left either. Son Goku spent a great deal of both his normal ki and this Hakai ki before the latter took control. And since then, he too has used a lot of power. He too is running out of time. Showing his cards, Odyssey couldn't be more right. In this case, he'll destroy his foe quickly with all his power. Universe 7, Planet Earth. After gathering up the best of our heroes available, Pietras stares out into space aghast at what Goku could be thinking. He can feel that his enemy is really powerful. But will the Saiyan really allow the entire universe to be destroyed by his own power? The planet's shaking from the shockwaves of the fight. Champa thinks the sheer impact of their blows is resonating through the whole universe. Until now, even though they were using a level of power so high it could destroy the universe. They were controlling and concentrating their attacks in a way that wouldn't cause a lot of damage. But now Goku's power isn't being controlled like it should, and the universe is suffering for it. Leading Lei to believe that Mr. Goku is the one responsible for all the damage done to the universe. Which, yeah. And it seems that besides everything else, the other guy is still channeling his energy well, so it won't affect the universe. Goku, on the other hand, is becoming more and more maddened by the control of the energy of destruction, and won't stop until he destroys everything he can. Universe 8 Supreme Planet. A man who resembles Hakai seems to stand in front of a damaged liquor, and the Kaioshin of Universe 8 is in the background. Having to use so much power to revive the god of destruction, Iru comments how the healer lost consciousness. It should go without saying, he wasn't able to restore the god's strength completely given his extraordinary power. Ignoring their aid, Liquor only barks that they shouldn't have interfered with this fight with that mage. But what could they do? That was a lost battle and the fox knows very well. Earlier, badly injured by Tyra. She hisses if he'll be able to dodge the next one. Frustrated and not making any attempt to move, someone appears behind him. Iru, of course. Turning the fight into a complete bummer for the Celestial Mage. She was just starting to enjoy the moment. Returning to the present, the god snarls that there's no way she could have taken Hatch's cocoon. What's he going to say to the other gods? This is so embarrassing to let her get away with this. The Kai argues that if he would have brought the cocoon, she would have come after them and killed the both of them. It's better to accept defeat than deal with death. Bringing up the first thing that came to my own mind, Iru reminds that their lives are connected. All she would have to do is kill the obvious weaker of the pair. Furthermore, he doesn't want to die, so Liquor shouldn't go making such selfish decisions. Turning to the sky just like Beerus, the fox then wonders about Son Goku. Will he manage to deal with his enemy, or will he destroy the whole universe in vain? Taking out an entire star system, the Destroyer Beast really seems to have finally let go of any remorse. But if Odyssey thought that was something, then he best prepare himself to see more. In Universe 11, Belmont's realm. After being defeated, Jiren chides the clown god that he had no right to do what he did. Jiren himself should have been the one to face him. If we remember, Jiren was the last to join the battle. So it's likely Belmont interfered to keep him away for some reason. We don't have to wait long to find an answer, as the deity himself claims that the situation is bigger than the two of them. There is no place for personal matters right now. Who knows what could have happened to the universe if he had fought Callimore in a fury? So he then questions what happened in his absence. The Pride Troopers were almost destroyed, and Callimore escaped. When they too feel the battle happening in another universe, Belmont points out that this is Son Goku's power. For his presence to be felt here in Universe 11, it must mean that his power is completely out of control. Echoing the Universe 11 Destroyer, Odyssey couldn't agree more. It seems that things here are getting a little out of control. As the Hakai beast comes charging towards him, screaming that he'll destroy him. He'll destroy everything. Back on the Universe 6 Earth, the eye can sense that the West Galaxy was destroyed. It was perfectly fine, then gone in an instant. Champa warns that this is nothing compared to what's to come, causing the Kai to shout that there's no way. She won't allow the entire universe to be destroyed. There must be something she can do. But it's useless. If she tries, she will die. In their current states, the only thing in this universe that could stop them is an angel. Apparently, Vados isn't around. So that's it. The angels are really powerful, aren't they? That mistress called Vados can do something. She needs to find her. Although, Lei doesn't think she's even in the same universe anymore. Mr. Goku said she needed to leave for something. Smacking his head, Champa knows that if she needed to leave, it can only be because of a summon from the Grand Priest. Which is something that happens at the Palace of the Omni Kings, isn't it? She's never gone there personally, but Kaburo showed her once on a map where it is, prompting the former destroyer to scold that she not even think about it. But in a flash, she takes off, leaving Champa to conclude that this woman must be nuts. If she invades a sacred meeting like this, she and this entire universe could be totally erased. At Zeno's palace, sure enough appearing in the middle of their gathering, she whips her head over to Miss Vados, exclaiming that it's good to see her again. She needs her help. As a voice pierces through her, Miss Lei, the Grand Priest himself, who reprimands if she understands the seriousness of the offense she just committed. With Goku all but losing his will over his own body, will the highest of powers be able to look past themselves in order to save him? Or moreover, the entirety of Universe 6? And with Vegeta simply floating through the void of space after his fight with Cooler, will anyone be able to come to his aid on time? Or is he doomed to suffer a lonely demise?